How you doing? This is Kenny Lee Roberts, and this is a story behind the tune Living Ghosts.
We'll start with Living Ghosts then.
Yes.
So I think looking at the background of each one of these songs, so it sounds like this is one that's got a lot of meaning behind it.
Yeah, Living Ghosts was one I wrote for my dad, my late dad. He's a very cheery chap. He lived with Alzheimer's for 11 years, and to his credit, did really, really well. I mean, it's quite a rapid deterioration in some cases, but he sort of hung in there, and he was always a big fan of our music, and was always a great dad and a great time growing up. This is one of these ones sometimes you want a backstory of hardship growing up, and it sounds really cool, but family life was really good.
Yeah, it was
So,
enjoyable.
and he was a perfect dad, and it was just that kind of some of the saddest things that you meet a lot of people that have the same kind of thing going on in their life. Unfortunately, there's a lot happening with Alzheimer's and dementia. And some of the saddest things are when they start to forget their loved ones and start to forget people's names. He never did. He always remembered the boys, my boys and me and his wife, which we were thankful for. Right after, even after 11 years, he still had that acknowledgement. And one of the craziest things was every time he played him music, it was almost like an awakening for him. He would be so animated and so happy and up dancing. It was just a very, very strange trigger that music was one of his things. So Living Ghost was about him, and the sort of struggle of watching him gradually, disappear, but thankful for the fact that he was still part of everyday life and still lucid enough to know who we were.
It's interesting you say that about the memory and the triggers with music, because I think that's how information seemed to be passed through like melodies of songs, and
it's
through
massive.
life.
You see some of the the dementia choirs, Vicky McClure stuff, fantastic work they do, and it just seems to be one of these things that unlocks memories way back. He was into things like Glenn Miller and big band sound, so if you put one of those on really loud, he was off, and it was. But he was always a big fan of our music. If you put one of our tunes on, whether he was just trying to get out of the room or not, I don't know. But
It must have meant a lot, though.
Yeah, it was. He was always a big fan of what we did. He was. He always struggled to sort of put it into words as to what it meant, to him. But he always said, "What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with your music, is it?" Well, that's high praise indeed, Dad. Thanks. Yeah, it's not that bad. Well, that'll do. But no, he was a big fan, and he never really got to see a lot of the live stuff, which was one of the sort of shames. But no, it was just really a nod and a wink to him, that song, to be honest. And it's
How long ago did he pass?
it's about 4 years now. Yeah, 4 years now, just before New Year. So he really screwed up our Christmas plans.
When did you finish this song then?
About a year afterwards, to be honest, because there's always that kind of, as anyone will know that's lost a parent, you've got that kind of period that's just a bit numb and everyone's a bit kind of
grief.
flat, so you feel like and it's a good therapy for me. I've always, gone to music as an escape and as something that you can, I suppose it is a therapy, that rather than talking to somebody, so we'll put it in music form and put it out there, and that's how you feel, so which lays you bare to everybody knowing how you're feeling. But something like that I find it quite therapeutic and quite a nice thing to do.
It's like pen to paper, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
and
like,
again, every time it comes on now, you remember him, so it's good for that. So.
It's weird in a way that you've created that memory part in your brain
absolutely.
for every time that song plays. What was it like the first time performing this song?
Well, it's one of these ones we've never performed it live. It's a bit like because it falls into the sort of ballady kind of slow tune one. It doesn't, our kind of set's quite high octane, high energy, and I think if you suddenly started singing a song about Alzheimer's, it'd be very good. I'm going to the bar, So it's never made it onto the live set as yet. We were thinking about, because we've got some headline gigs coming up, maybe slotting one or two in there. But
would that be one that you use?
It's certainly one that would be it's quite a difficult one to sing. So I don't know. We'll see.
Well, that was the main question.
See.
Like, what was the first time like singing this song out loud? What was that like? Was it?
It's quite emotional. Yeah, because again, lyrically, it's you know what it's all about. I mean, you know what every line's written about. You know, so it can be quite emotional, but but in a good way. You know, it's a nice vibe to.
What's the hardest line throughout that? Anything?
Well, I think we opened up with hello, it's nice to meet you, what's your name, which was really more to do with people that had forgotten, because one of our people I know, every time he went to see his dad, he said, oh, hello, it's nice to meet you, what's your name, you look like my boy. And it was his boy, and I thought that must be really tough to have to deal with that. So I put that line in, although my dad always recognised me. I thought, well, that must be quite tough for somebody, because every time he went to see him at the home, he's going, oh, you look like my son, and he must be going, yeah, I do, but because you do develop a dark humour in the Alzheimer as well, but it's but you roll with it, and you take the good times, and
it's another way to like make light of the situation, isn't it? It's like nothing can really change at that.
It is quite. There's been some funny moments.
Yeah. What do you think your dad would think of the song?
He would think it was quite good. I think that's probably as high as he'd get. I think he'd like it. Yeah, I mean, it's as I say, he was a great fan of all our music. So all the bands I was in, even the really bad ones, he still found a nice thing to say. So yeah, I think he'd like it.
That's good. Do you ever get nervous performing like in front of like family?
I don't get nervous, and I don't mean to sound arrogant about that. I get a lot of adrenaline, which is great, which is my drug of choice. you get, I think you kind of lose the nerves because we're well rehearsed. I think if you weren't rehearsed, you get a bit nervous. But I think if you've spent time and you've got it right, and you trust. I mean, my band are fantastic musicians, so I'm the weakest link. So that really gives you confidence, and because we're rehearsed, you don't have a little edge of nerves. It's more adrenaline, which is great. I like that feeling.